bring 'em out, bring 'em out. Bring 'em out.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fiend Podcast with your hosts, Zay, Young Vander, and Bro Joe.
Welcome back to the best fantasy football podcast on the air, the Fantasy Football Fiend Podcast, presented to you by Manscaped. I'm your host, Zay, the Fantasy Football Fiend himself. And of course, I got my bros on with me, the Fantasy Phenom, Young Vander. Holla at the people.
Fantasy Fiends, what's going on out there?
And the rookie aficionado, Bro Joe. Holla at him.
What's going on, Fantasy Fiend family?
Week 5 is on the horizon. Waivers are heating up. Injuries are taking toll. And bye weeks are coming fast and furious. We'll make sure that you get through it all. Make sure that you guys that are our listeners subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can put a face with a voice. That's at Fantasy Football Fiend, FEIN. Make sure that you also join the Fantasy Football Fiend family Facebook group. Have a little bit more information, a few breakdowns and things of that nature that will get you through your fantasy weeks. We have an exciting show for you today, starting out with your news and notes, rapid fire 10, and your matchups for the week. We're going to go ahead and kick it off with your news.
And now your fantasy news.
All right, so we're going to talk about, injuries, things of that nature, kind of start out there. Matthew Stafford is in line for a field practice, so his hip injury doesn't look like it's going to be, much ado about nothing. Kenny Pickett is saying that he should be ready to go. He had that kind of a twisted knee, kind of looked like that. It looked like it was going to be worse than, half of a game type of being away as far as that was concerned. But do you guys kind of have any inkling on whether or not it's even worth looking at Pittsburgh offense right now as far as Kenny Pickett is concerned? I know he kind of he wasn't all that great before he hurt his knee, and I don't expect him to be better now. So what's kind of the outlook on that, Van?
I mean, you said it. I mean, he's not good with two knees, with two good knees. So why would I think he's going to be impressive with one knee? You know what I mean? But he's looking to play. He have a brace on, it seems. So there you go.
Derek Carr, I was pretty sure was going to miss a couple of weeks, but he ended up right back. I don't know if he kind of felt like Jameis Winston was going to be right on his heels or what, but he still has that shoulder injury. Didn't do anything special last week, but he's looking a little bit better. Do you have any fear for what he may bring to the table this week, Joe?
Nah, more so just the opponent. He got New England this week?
Yep.
Yeah, it's more so the opponent. He kind of.
I will say this: Gonzalez, who was our number one corner, he's a rookie, but he was looking the best out there. He's out for the year, and Judon, who was our best pass rusher, he's out for several weeks. It's an indefinite time frame right now. He shouldn't be going for the year, but two of our best defenders are going. Do you still think the Patriots defense is going to show up the same way? And does that change your outlook on as far as New Orleans is concerned?
Y'all just got Jackson from the Chargers, and no, he wasn't even starting there. I think it's going to go. It's plug and play with y'all scheme. I think it's more so. This week we saw a lot of checkdowns. He had 13 passes to Kamara. His arm wasn't right. I think he's going to be there this week, but it's New England, man. I don't care if y'all don't have Judon. Y'all find a way to get it done. I don't like the matchup for him. If he's going to keep dipping and dunking, then it's definitely not going to be a favorable matchup for him.
Joe Burrow is indicating that he's feeling better than he has since the beginning of the season. Does that matter? Or as long as he's not 100%, you still expect Cincinnati to struggle? What you got on that, Vander?
I mean, Joe Burrow at this point is you can't start him. Any Joe Burrow owners. Of course, he came out and said this is a must win for this week. But again, I mean, it's been a must win since the season started.
Facts.
I mean, and just saying I felt better today than I did yesterday. They've been saying that since the season started. We just haven't really seen good play. So, I mean, I even seen people say cut him, in a lot of forums. I wouldn't go that far, but definitely.
One QB league, I can see it, though, honestly.
Oh, definitely. In the one QB league for sure. But in the two QB league, you definitely got to at least hold him, stash him, but or trade him, if you can get something for him. But at this point, I wouldn't start him.
Deshaun Watson, according to the coach, could have played last Sunday, but he chose to go ahead and sit out. How are you feeling about this scenario, Joe? Is it an indication of his dedication, or did he kind of know his body a little bit more then the medical staff and maybe Joe Burrow should have took a page out of his book versus just saying, well, if they said I can go, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I think more so the maintenance part of it. Knowing they having a bye week this week, what's the point? They on a bye. I know they on a bye week, but knowing they on a bye week, I think the most important thing was more so just getting them right. Yeah, if they're on a bye week, just make sure to get them right, knowing that they got a long stretch ahead. He threw a few passes during on Friday, but then obviously that's when DTR took most of the reps. But I think he'll be
Right.
fine coming back on the opposite end.
Okay, so moving on to the running backs, Javonte Williams is dealing with a quad issue. He didn't show up to practice on Wednesday. Not exactly sure how long of an issue this may end up being, but it doesn't look like he's going to go on Sunday. So, are we kind of worried about his prognosis? I mean, he wasn't well. Denver in general hasn't been doing all that well, even with him in there. So, do we think that this is just a flash in the pan, or are we kind of should we be worried rest of the year as far as Denver and as far as this particular running back is concerned, Vander?
I'm not gonna say the rest of the year, but I don't see him playing this week.
Okay.
So, we'll speak more down on the waiver ad show, part of the show, but he's not playing this week.
Damian Pierce is limited with a knee issue, not really given a whole bunch of information as far as his prognosis, but it is some type of an issue with the knee. He hasn't been who he was last year. Is this more indicative of who he actually is? Or is this a now that we have a quarterback, we're not going to run you into the ground, so your fantasy relevance isn't going to be where it was, plus you have a knee issue now? What's your outlook on Damian Pierce, Joe?
I think Oh man, I might have to say it, man. I think it might be the rubber meeting the road a little bit, but it's also a team that's been slightly decimated by injury across the offensive line. Stroud's playing amazing, right? So you would think the run game would be a beneficiary. Um, I gotta see it. I think honestly, Singletary coming back in the fold, and Singletary's looking like the veteran in this offense. This might be a season for him to either do it, or they're gonna get somebody to compete or take his spot. Like honestly, that's how it's looking right now.
Kyron Williams didn't practice on Wednesday. There's indicating that it's precautionary and he should go on Sunday, but missing the walkthrough on Wednesday isn't indicative of a healthy running back, if that makes sense. And it doesn't take very much for a running back to not be able to quite show up as far as their norm is concerned. So are you going with Williams on Sunday if that was your guy, or are you kind of making a pivot on that, Van?
Let's see how the rest of the week goes as far as this practice.
Sure.
Guys not practicing on Wednesday at this point. It could be a maintenance day. So let's go into the week more. Let's Thursday, Friday's practice to get a little bit more on this. But I think Kyron probably will be available this week.
Jonathan Taylor is back at practice. He was a full participant in Wednesday's practice. They are going up against Tennessee this week, which has one of the best run defenses. Are we kind of going to throw JT out there, or do we think that he might not even go this week? Or what's your prognosis as far as Jonathan Taylor is concerned, Joe?
I think we got to wait till Sunday. Honestly, it's not because he ain't physically ready. We all saw what he looked like when they showed those little videos of him working out. But he does have a 21-day window to actually start. Right. So we don't know what the game him and Irsay might have going on. So I would think Sunday is a good tell, because if he's active, then we know he's going to start. But to what capacity, I don't think they're going to just throw him out there or like the Josh Jacobs way the first week. So it'd be nice to hear on Friday what that looks like, what they're expecting. Even on Saturday, we get some reports. But he got that window. It's good to see him back. Or if unless he traded this weekend.
You brought up a name that immediately came to mind for me, which is Josh Jacobs. Out of his own mouth, he's basically indicating that, you can work out, you can be in good shape and all that kind of good stuff, but the reaction time is just a little bit different. And not having any preseason, also not having any mini camp, things of that nature, it definitely takes, a bit of a toll and has an effect on a running back. So if Jonathan Taylor does go on Sunday, do you actually play him?
Absolutely.
That's a good question, man.
Okay. Go ahead. Against Tennessee?
That's not a good question. Hell no, you don't play him.
Oh, okay, okay, all right, okay. Look, I thought you were saying you definitely play him. That's why I was like,
Absolutely not. Yeah.
oh, gotcha. Okay, bet. But okay, now let me reverse that. We have a guy who has been on the field, but was on a limited snap count. So Brees Hall, per his coach, is now released. He is no longer on a snap count, and he has a bit of a softer defense, a softer run defense with Denver this week. Are we putting Brees Hall out there and he's back to being the, a number one running back, or how are we feeling about Brees Hall this week, man?
Well, I definitely love him in a DFS play.
Okay.
You just mentioned, I mean, he playing against Denver, right? Who hasn't light Denver up?
Right.
If you're gonna play him, I think this is the week 2 play him. It's good to hear that news come out from the camp where he's, not under any kind of like restriction. But yeah, this is a week to play him if you're gonna play him. I mean, Denver's giving up everything: the ground, the air. Everybody's having career days against Denver, so I'm definitely firing them up DFS wise.
And I do want to stay on that team for one more moment and ask you an additional question. So this past week, Brees Hall and Michael Carter actually were the leaders as far as snap count, and is also as far as carries were concerned. So it's looking like the guy that they paid to come in just a few weeks ago, then Dalvin Cook, it looks like he may be a little bit in the doghouse, or he doesn't quite fit into the offense the way he did with the Vikings or whatever. But I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. But two-part question here for you, Vander. Do you go ahead and move Dalvin Cook now based on the name? And do you go ahead and pick up Michael Carter based on him actually looking like he's about to be the handcuff and he's probably free?
Well, do you move Dalvin Cook as far as in your leagues, or are you talking about the NFL team?
No, I mean, as far as are you do you package him up with something and try to trade him based on the fact that if this is going to be prolonged, he won't have any value at all, especially if he's the third running back. And then Izzy's coming back eventually. And, he's the rookie, so they actually drafted him. So I can only imagine that, the carries will be divvied up even more once he's back. So,
Yeah, of course. I mean, I did it last week. I mean, I traded Dalvin Cook last week, I seen the writing on the wall at that point. But who knows? This dude can very well be traded by the deadline.
This is
I
true
mean,
too.
looking like this, right? I mean, if he's
no loyalty.
Yeah, if they already pay him a certain amount of money to be there, and he's already like he's moving to third, and he didn't get what he bargained for. So it's really like, it works for both parties. Like, look, I didn't come here for this. Aaron's hurt. This is what I came for. And then the team is like, look, you're not quite paying out what we thought, so both people are having buyer's remorse at this point.
Yeah.
I can see him being maybe
go ahead and sit him up there with his brother. Buffalo can use because Harris and your boy Murray, they aren't exactly firing on all cylinders. So, that was some of the talk to begin with, that he may link up with his brother, James Cook, up there in Buffalo. Go ahead and get a late round pick or get something for him. I mean, the money's spent, so try to recoup something.
I think if a key injury happens and it's a team that loses a guy and they're, pretty close and are really, contending for a title this year, you probably can see it happen. You know what I'm saying?
We got Jerry Judy, who's dealing with a knee injury, limited at practice Wednesday. This guy seems to stay injured. I don't even know if he's good because he doesn't stay healthy long enough to actually see it. You have any qualms about dropping Jerry Judy at this point, Joe, or do you kind of continue to, let sleeping dogs lie and hope that he's healthy long enough to actually see what you got, or what are we doing with this guy?
Honestly, I think with him, you got to kind of just steer the course. I mean, now is a good time to kind of, I would package him with something. I would try to, shop around a little bit. But this wide receiver core as a whole can't stay healthy. I mean, like every year, literally the past few offseasons is the same thing. It's good to have a piece of it in case somebody, something do happen to somebody. But nah, man, I don't know. Not really. I really wasn't a fan of Judy to really say to keep him already. So.
Baltimore's wide receivers seem to be on the mend a little bit here. Odell Beckham Jr. had a limited session coming back off of an ankle. Rashad Bateman is without limitations in practice. So the young receiver and the older receiver both seem to be back in tow. We'll kind of see how that goes. Jameson Williams, based on the NFL kind of changing their outlook on betting against or betting in facilities, but not on your actual team or on NFL games, because I believe he got suspended for betting on a college game, but he placed the bet while in the facility. But he's supposed to be back this week. Are we going to give him a week to kind of see what's going to go on, or how do we feel about Jameson? And also, is he a guy that you go get before you figure out what he's going to do, because it may be too late after the fact? What are your thoughts as far as Jameson Williams are concerned, Vander?
Well, I remember a few years ago, I had a C7 Corvette. I bought it, showroom floor Corvette. I punched it, leaving the dealership. so that's what I'm going to do with Jameson Williams. I'm going to punch it. As soon as he's on the field, hey, just throw him out there. I think he's going to be ready to go out the gate. I mean, we see him last year, came back from injury. He played limited snaps, but he looked explosive on some big plays. He caught and missed them on a few deep throws last year. So now that he's healthy, I think this dude is hungry. The word in camp or in practice, people are saying this dude is he ready to go. So yeah, man, drive it.
Let me ask both of y'all this question then. With that being said, do we lower our expectations on St. Brown, or does this actually help him out? And if we do lower the expectation, do we go ahead the same way you said you're going to punch it with Williams? Do you go ahead and you try to move on St. Brown now, just in case Williams is one to take over? Obviously, he's going to be on the outside. St. Brown is more so of a slot machine. But how are we looking at that setup?
I think this definitely helps St. Brown more, right? You got a guy that's taking the top off, and St. Brown, he's a Swiss Army knife. He can get vertical, but he can work underneath. So I can very well see him catch a lot of balls. I think Laporta as well will see some benefit. From 20 to 20, I think those guys will be working underneath while Jameson is kind of taking the safety downfield, because this is a fast guy, so he's not a 4-5 guy. He's a fast dude. So I think underneath, he's going to help everybody. So this whole offense should take a step up.
You got the same feeling, Joe?
Nah, I mean, yeah, in a sense, but what I say is I'm more so want to get to golf. If I'm I don't want nobody to see Jameson in a jersey. They're thinking it's now the time to get golf, because this is the last piece he needed. And Randall L, I love Randall L. I think he's one of the more straightforward coaches, players, position coach. And he loved his kid. He got nothing but great things to say about him. And to Vander's point too, even players. So I think you go get golf now, because golf with this extra piece, he already got Laporta, he got AJ, he got Reynolds, he got Raymond. He got a bevy of targets, but this the one. And I think if he was healthy or able and no issues with gambling, he could have had a 1,000-yard season before he got hurt.
Well, what's real quick, like you go to any NFL stadium and you're going to see DraftKings posted everywhere. Like, how do you suspend a dude for gambling? It's not his own team, but he's gambling. You talking about on the premises, you're seeing gambling ads. Like, come on, man.
That's why they had to go back and revamp things, because the NFLPA was like, what are we doing? Like, this isn't, years ago when, it was kind of like Pete Rose in baseball. It was just a no-no. Like, you don't do it. But it's like, okay, so you want all the fans to do it. You know that everyone has access to a smartphone, etc. But you're gonna make it. It's one thing to bet on the NFL, because you can kind of get into some, some gray areas there. But what do you care about me betting on a college game? Like, what? How is that going to affect anything in the NFL at all? So I kind of see why they did that. But I also kind of see where the NFL is coming from as far as the slippery slope is concerned. Because like, if you're an executive or anything like that, like if you're not a player, it's the same rule. Like they don't even get on the field, but if they were to bet in the facilities, harsh penalties up to and including banishment. So I guess they're just trying to, continue along the same line that they've always had. But if you notice, I'll liken it to this. Have you noticed no one's gotten suspended for smoking weed anytime lately? It's not that they took it off the rule book, they just quit looking for it. So I think gambling is going to end up going down that same path. They're not going to tell you it's okay to do, but they're not going to look out for it. So it's going to be kind of one of those things. Let's go ahead and round out the news with a few waiver ads or a few drops, things of that nature. What we got there? Go ahead and start us out, man.
All right. A few week 5 waiver, say week 5, or some guys you may want to go after. And you just mentioned it, James Williams. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the guys I would say is an ad this week. He's only 32% owned in most leagues, which is very interesting. If you're spending your fab money, I know we don't really talk about that much on here, but I would definitely spend maybe a third of that, anywhere from 30 to 40% as a bid to get this guy. So James Williamson would be one guy for me.
So based on that amount of fab, you're kind of looking at him as a possible league winner to a certain extent.
Yeah, down the stretch. Okay. This could be definitely one of those down the stretch guys because he's hungry. He didn't play much last year. You know what I'm saying? So now he had the trouble this year. And you know what I'm saying? It's set. The stage is set for this dude to come in and explode. Like Joe said, this is the last piece. This is the last infinity stone that golf needed. You got the run game with David Montgomery, who's also going to see a benefit because safety over the top. You got Gibbs, the third down type back. You got the tight end who's playing well. The rookie, he's playing better than most rookies we've seen. You got St. Brown doing all the underneath. Like, this is the last infinity stone for this offense. You got probably the best offensive line in football. So this is the last piece to the puzzle for them to really take off.
And they already got a good defense. They just got to hope to stay healthy at this point.
That's it. Another guy, Jaleel McLaurin. We did speak
the running back from Denver.
Right. We did speak on Javonte. I don't think he's going to be present. Now, Shamar J. Piron is the number 2 guy, but this dude here, he show a little bit more, a little more spunk. Even in the preseason, you see him play. He played with a little fire. He's only 2% owned.
Okay.
In leagues. Now, this is a guy also as well. I'll be playing in DFS. He's only 5,700. I'll be firing him up this week. And as far as fab, I would say maybe spend 10% of your money on this dude. And I'm gonna throw another one out there. Last but not least, I don't know if you've been living on the rock, but 47% owned in leagues. CJ Stroud, right? Talk about one quarterback leagues.
I picked him up today. So
a lot of people are still not paying attention. You got Joe Burrow in your league. He hasn't been doing much for you. This would be a guy who can fill in, play right away.
I tell you who I dropped. I dropped Deshaun Watson. I had Jordan Love. I picked Jordan Love up off the waivers too, but Jordan Love is actually the number 3 quarterback in fantasy as far as points is concerned right now. And CJ Stroud is top 10. Watson was like QB 20 or something like that. So I feel great about it because at some point in time this year, Cooper gonna get hurt again and he gonna fall off the map when that happens. And Njoku wasn't what we thought he was gonna be. So yeah, I feel great about that prognosis. And it's only a 1 QB league as well. So I got my my starter and my backup there. Anybody that you have that you want to put out there, Joe?
Yeah, I got 3, and I'm gonna start off going back to Marvin Mims. I mentioned him a few weeks ago, but even like I feel like again, if you want to kind of buy into this attrition that's going on at the wide receiver position, now is a good time if you need a flex position, a flex start, something like that, to go look towards Marvin Mims. Staying with that theme in mind, on Arizona, somebody Vander mentioned in Wilson. He's just consistent. If you need a nice little flex start or a wide receiver 3, that's a good way to go and going with him as well too. And then going to lastly to Darnell Mooney, I think this is the most intriguing one. We already know Claypool going somewhere. Mapletron is going somewhere by this weekend. And I think, Darnell Mooney, when it hasn't been Claypool, he's had at least 3 receptions in those games. And I think this offense ain't passing on, ain't doing it ain't doing too much. But if ever it finally click and start to turn on, you definitely want to have some of Mooney. Again, just thinking about from the flex, those three options are pretty viable too. Let me see what else I was thinking about.
Well, two things while you're thinking about that.
Yeah.
The Bears coach will likely be fired this week because they're probably going to lose to Washington. And we can go ahead and drop the Tron off of the Maple. He can still be the Maple Leaf if you want him to be, but we can go ahead and officially drop that Tron because Claypool ain't it. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, most people already got. Well, people smart enough to get Joshua Palmer. I might put Jonnu in that conversation. I want to see one more. I'm a watch list Jonnu. The last few weeks, man, it's crazy. You think Pitts, number 3 overall pick or whatever pick he was, Jonnu just had like a 90-yard game this
And
past weekend in London.
He's been getting more targets. I think I read a stat that Pitts has only gotten 19 targets on the year.
He don't look like he all the way there, man. I love that he fought back to come back, but he not 100%. And I understand, but this Jonnu again, I'm gonna watch list him, but he might be a sneaky play, man, because he had so many targets last week in London, it was ridiculous.
And that pretty much wraps up the news. We're gonna go ahead and hop right into Rapid Fire 10.
All right, man. We got the Rapid Fire 10. Rapid Fire 10, we got 10 quick questions. We need 10 quick answers. Who do I start out of these guys? Let's get straight into it. We got Joshua Dobbs or Joe Burrow.
I'm gonna
actually run with Burrow. I think I'm gonna take Burrow. They play each other this week, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
What you say, Joe?
I want Joe Burrow.
You going Burrow as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We got Desmond Riddler or Zach Wilson. So this is somebody that's pretty deep.
I'm gonna go Zach Wilson.
Seems like he looked like he may have turned it around a little bit. I'm gonna stay in the flames with Zach over Ritter.
Okay, we got Jaleel McLaurin or we got Jahmyr Gibbs.
That's a good one.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and take the young bull in Denver. I mean,
me too.
I think he's most likely to get a touchdown because David Montgomery is definitely the goal line back in Detroit. So unless Gibbs get it from like the 15, he ain't gonna get one. Okay.
We got Zach Moss or Dameon Pierce.
Zach Moss, Dameon Pierce.
I'm gonna go with Moss. Give me the guy that's healthy and likely to still get carries while JT kind of works his way back in.
I agree.
Okay. Next, we got Joe Mixon or Breece Hall.
It's crazy he made a similar boat, man.
Give me Hall. Can't wait.
Give me Joe, man. I gotta have faith in him one last week, man.
Turn the page. All right. We got DeAndre Hopkins or George Pickens.
It's crazy. You gotta think that because George Pickens ain't been right the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna go back to Pickens. I think he gotta get right in a divisional game against Baltimore. He gotta do something this week, especially when he got caught tweeting about Pickett throwing him under the bus. He gonna have to show something this week.
I'm gonna have to go with D-Hop because Pittsburgh's offense was already off before the injury, and now they're gonna let Pickett go back out there with a half a knee. Like, nah, I'm not trusting Pittsburgh at all.
All right. We got Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton.
Oh, give me Sutton.
Sutton. Until he get hurt. Give me Sutton.
All right. We got Tank Dell or Gabe Davis.
Give me Tank. I think Tank gonna get right.
Tank. Yeah, give me Tank.
Okay. Tight end question. We got Cole Kmet Zach Ertz.
Komet. Give me Komet. Komet is actually the number 3 tight end right now.
But he had one big game.
In PPR.
Tight end is horrible this year. Nobody's playing well. It's like 1 or 2 guys playing all right. Everybody else not really doing much. I mean, he had this one blowout game, so now he's ranked so high.
Agreed.
All right. And this was a flex question. So we got Zay Flowers or Ramondre Stevenson.
I'm gonna go with Stevenson because the running back is more likely to get the touchdown. So, I think I'm gonna go with Ramondre on that one. He's a safer pick.
I agree. I will go with Ramondre in that situation.
And last but not least, we got a defensive question: Detroit Lions versus Carolina, or Ravens versus Pittsburgh Steelers.
Give me Detroit.
Carolina, give me Detroit. I mean, Detroit has a D line that's phenomenal, and Carolina's offensive line may be the worst, definitely one of the worst. So I can see Detroit doing some damage this week.
All right, so that concludes our Rapid Fire 10.
Rapid Fire 10. Oh. All right, so let's go right ahead and hop into our matchups. We'll start out with Chicago versus Washington, which will be the Thursday evening matchup. Chicago has a 6-point spread there. There's a 6-point spread there, and Chicago's getting the money on that one. A 44.5 point over under. I don't know how I feel about Fields in this game. I think this could be the game that gets the coach fired, as I said earlier. And then I also think that Washington, Chicago hasn't stopped anybody either. So once you get rid of the head coach, you might as well get rid of the defensive coordinator fired himself already. So there's that part. But I can see Washington getting the majority of this 44.5 points. I don't feel comfortable starting anybody on the Chicago side. If you're in the 2 QB league, I can see if you have to start Fields, going that route. He shouldn't tank you, but don't expect anything major out of him. The next matchup we have is the Jaguars going up against the Buffalo Bills. This is a 48.5 point over under, and the Jags are getting 5.5 points. Go ahead and give us your outlook on that one, Joe.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting game, especially with Jacksonville. Man, I don't know what's Calvin Ridley. What is he doing? Even without Zay Jones, he's still in the dark. That's all right. That's cool. We're gonna go to what's working. That's been Ingram and Christian Kirk the last few weeks. ETN, man, he carried the ball 20 times. Let's give it up for ETN. I thought he was a scat back. He carried it like a boss last week. I think those 3 you definitely gotta look forward to. You gotta play those. I'm waiting for Lawrence, man. Lawrence has had opportunities to really ball out, drop some big games on people. We're not seeing that this year. The fuck? Where did it go? Where did it go? Right. On the other side of the matchup, man, what was the other team? I know it was Jacksonville. Who else they got?
Bills, Buffalo.
Oh, both. Look what they just did. But you got to start everybody. I really think, honestly, this matchup, which is most favorable, is look at James Cook, man. James Cook is getting a lot of these touches. I know Murray mixed in quite a bit last week, but before going to last week, 17, 15, he getting attempts on the ground. I think, honestly, this is a nice matchup to beat on somebody with his skill set receiving and rushing. We already know what Diggs do. We already know what J.D. Davis and everybody else do. I think you start all the offensive parts. Jacksonville can't keep it together. I know they kept Atlanta in check, but I don't know what they're going to do this week.
We got the Texans versus the Falcons. This is a 41.5 point over under. I want to say this is one of the lower over unders of the week. Houston is getting 2 points, and they're going to be in ATL. What you got on this one, Van?
Oh, man, this should be a breakout for Bijan. I think this is a game for him.
Okay.
Playing against this run defense.
When you say breakout, like you mean like what do you mean by breakout? Because he's had a couple of games where he put up some fantasy points, at least in the PPR.
He hasn't had a rushing touchdown yet.
Okay.
So I think
Gotcha.
this should be the game where he gets that. As far as I think, offensively, he's the only person on the Atlanta Falcons I don't feel comfortable with playing. Riddler, you know what you're gonna get there. This Houston defense hasn't played bad on the back end. Passing wise, they're not giving up much, but it's still way better than last year. They're in the middle of the pack now as far as getting the run. Last year they was like dead last.
Yeah.
So D'Amico Ryan's effect has been good. So offensively, I'm not a fan of Drake London, Pitts, any of those guys at all in this game. Jonnu, none of them. Strictly Bijan, maybe even a little sprinkle of Tyler Algier here and there. On the other side, Atlanta defense as well, playing good against the pass. I think you should temper your expectations on someone like Nico Collins. I know he just had a breakout game, but he's been that all season. Big game, and I think this will be a game where he'll have more.
It's kind of like he and Tank Dell have been like taking turns. Like whoever has a big game, the other one does it, and they kind of go back and forth.
He's probably going to see a little bit of my boy from Clemson on Atlanta.
AJ Terrell,
right? So he probably see a lot of him.
Let me ask you: you think he's more likely to be on Collins or more likely to be on Tank?
Collins the number one. Yeah, he's the number one receiver on his team. So Tank will see a little bit more probably looks this week, if anything. But that's pretty much it. As far as especially DFS wise, it just Bijan's only guy. Like Stroud, play him. He's still kind of cheap, but because we still haven't seen Stroud use the legs as much. So maybe this will be a game that he'll finally show that part of his game as well.
But also understand, being a Buckeye fan, Stroud wasn't like several of his predecessors as far as quarterback is concerned. Right. He literally only ran when he had to, although he can run. Right. In that matchup when OSU went up against Georgia and he had to run, he did. Outside of that, he understands that his livelihood is based on that arm and not getting them legs taken out from under him. So, I wouldn't. If he has to run, he will. But that'll be.
I think this is a game that he may.
You'll have to
run a little bit more. Yeah.
Gotcha. Panthers going up against the Lions. We kind of talked about this one a little bit already. This is a 45-point over/under. Carolina is getting 9.5 points, and I think they're going to need all of them. What you got on this one, Joe?
Man, the Tom Stone was given to Adam Thielen, man. This motherfucker just went back in time. He's playing really well. I think you got to go back to him. He's 33. How is he the mainstay of this team?
They ain't got nobody else. Which is why I think they should go ahead and trade for Claypool, who should be dirt cheap right now. Because they ain't got nobody else.
He's still getting it done, bro. I gotta go back to it. I go back to Thielen in this matchup, considering. Honestly, Miles Sanders, I wish we would have said this earlier. Like, I don't know if Miles going to get through the season, man. I think, honestly, it's a lot to this groin injury he got going on, bro. All seriousness, I think now is a good time to I don't even want to go to Cuba like that, man. I can't even say I want to go down to him like that. Anyway, favorite running back position. Only thing there is Thielen. Looking on the other side of the ball, man. I just think you just got to start everybody as usual. Like you said, they're going to need every bit, every little bit. I don't think it's not a good matchup. Losing Shaq Thomas is big for Carolina. That was big. JC is big.
Yeah. And I think Horn is still out, ain't he?
Horn is out, and he lost the safety. Not Chin, but the other guy. That's a lot. That's a lot to lose.
That's a whole lot.
And Burns is slacking off, man. Burns not playing up to the man that wanted all this money. So I think, like you said, fire everybody up on the other side as usual.
Burns is in that what's my motivation stage. Like what are we trying to accomplish here? Like that's kind of where he is. You got the Titans going up against the Colts. This is a 43-point over/under, and Indy is getting 2 points in this game. So what do we like? What don't we like in this one, Vander?
I don't like the rushing attack from the Colts. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Again.
Now, okay, let me ask you this: is that the quarterback and the running backs, or just the running backs?
Oh, just the running backs. I
okay.
mean, as far as Richardson, I mean, you can't really put a gauge on that. If they go man, he'll take off. You know what I mean? If not, they'll spy and sit and zone out. But I don't like any of the running backs. No Zach Moss, no Jonathan Taylor. I don't care if he practice full. I don't care if he start. Don't play him. Now I do like the receivers on the outside. Pittman is a good play. Because Tennessee is more vulnerable on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, you got to play Derrick Henry. You know, he looked like Derrick Henry last week.
Yeah.
Like he was
You know, it's getting a little bit cooler outside. The Yeti gonna come out eventually. So
yeah. So fire him up. But I do like DeAndre Hopkins this game. It didn't look like he had a good fantasy game last week per se, but boy, he left a lot of meat on the table. A couple touchdowns, but he should have had 30 fantasy points. That's just how big of a night he could have had if certain things went the way as far as fingertip catches, different things like that. So I do like D Hop as well in this game. Tannehill, no, but I do like D Hop.
We got the Giants going up against the Dolphins. Bettors beware. This is an 11-point spread, 48.5 point over under. I actually expect the Giants to cover. Not because Miami isn't a much better team, but because everybody that's in the betting public will have their money on Miami. And what I've learned about the NFL is whenever everybody's on one team, it doesn't matter what football logic tells you, put your money on the other team, point blank, period. So as far as fantasy is concerned, Miami guys, start your guys. Now, with the Giants, I think that this is actually going to be a Daniel Jones type game. I don't think Saquon is going to be back. Make sure you keep your ear to the ground as far as practices are concerned with that. But I can kind of see Miami allowing some points, but then I can see them winning by about 10, which will cover the 11-point spread. I can kind of see something like that happening in this matchup. You got the Saints going up against the Patriots. This is only a 1-point spread, and New Orleans is actually getting the point. 40-point over under, so they do expect it to be a little bit of a lower scoring game, which I could definitely see that as well. What we got, Joe?
I don't like nobody in this game, bro. If you're gonna tell me Kamara gonna get 13 receptions again, yeah, we're going back to Kamara. I just don't like this match. I think it's two stout defenses and it's lackluster, man. It's doo-doo. I don't even pass.
I get it. We got the Ravens going up against the Steelers. This is a 38-point over under, and Pittsburgh is getting 4 points. Is that significant because they're actually at home? So normally when you're at home, you automatically get 3 points your way. So Vegas is saying that they should kind of lose this by about 7. But what we know is anytime you have those divisional games, they can end up being a little bit tighter than what the talent would dictate because the coaches kind of know each other so well. But what do we have on this one, Vander?
I love the Ravens offensively. I think you should fire up everybody. The Pittsburgh defense is not bad. It's not good. They give up a lot. TJ Watt is good, but the defense is not good. They give up a lot to the run. I don't know who's going to be a starting running back for this team. Another guy
for
Ravens.
Baltimore?
Right.
I think Gus is on the chart, but Mitchell, I think, came off of IR.
I think Hill is back as well.
He's back in practice, yeah.
Right. You did mention Keaton Mitchell, who's another guy I like as far as an ad. You should get him for nothing, but he's a nice guy you can add. But Andrews, I love Andrews. I love Lamar. Lamar started to show a little bit more of the legs last week. First couple of weeks, he was just sitting in the pocket. Last couple of weeks, he's been taking off. So I like the Ravens offense as a whole, and I like the Ravens defense. I'm not a fan of anybody on Pittsburgh because the defense of the Ravens is okay, but Pickett is hurt, right? And he's running there with one leg. We haven't really seen much of there hasn't been much Harris or much Warren Love anyway this year. So I'm not a fan of any of those guys. Pickens, he's hit and miss. He probably get 10 targets and catch 3 balls, but maybe one of the balls would be for a 60-yard play, something like that. But
no. That's what you would have to hope for with him.
Yeah. So, and another thing, Freiermuth is out this game. So,
right.
Another thing that's missing. Dwayne Washington, he'd probably be one of the guys that's sharing the load, but he'd probably be out there more of a blocker than a receiver.
You got the Bengals going up against the Cardinals. This is a 44.5 point over under, and Arizona is getting 3 points. What are we doing with this one, Joe?
Damn. This one game, we need to see Burrow earn that new contract, man. And then to make it worse, Jamar Chase said, I'm always effing open. I'm always effing open to the media.
Most wide receivers.
They gotta get it right this week, right? It's already on wax. I think it's a good time for them to respond, but let's not get it twisted. Dobbs has been playing great. Last couple games, rushing for over 40 yards just on the ground. And he ain't making many mistakes with the ball. I don't think he had one turnover since he's been starting. Honestly, it's sad to say, it's crazy. AFC Championship team, this might be a competitive game if they don't come to party. It's sad to say it. So on that note, honestly, I'm gonna go right back to the well. If Connors is healthy, I'm gonna take Connors. Bengals is doo-doo. We already know they dumpster on that part. We got to go to Chase, obviously. We got to look as far as the receivers with the Cardinals. That's the thing. I think we got to go to Ertz. I think it's a great, good get-right game. I know in the last few weeks it's been kind of, I don't want to say it's been kind of mid because we see him have 7, 8, 9 target games. He's going back to normal. I think it comes back this week. And then on the other side of it, we don't know what's the status of Higgins. I know he's dealing with Elmer. We know Ertz is dealing with something. It's next man up, right? So we gotta look at, Tyler Boyd is gonna be really good. I think that's gonna be a DFS play for sure. No Charlie Jones, so it's gonna be that kid Ayuasa. I don't want to butcher the kid's name. He's moving into the slot. See, I be trying. And then Joe Mixon. Can Joe Mixon earn his restructured contract? He was almost gone. We was talking for months about him possibly not making it onto the team. Can he earn a contract? This is to be a favorable. I know Gannon plays stout, but this team has been getting broken down. 1 week is passing, 1 week is rushing, 1 week is both. Mixon got to get over 100 all-purpose yards for his livelihood next year for sure.
I think this is a good game for Mixon. He hasn't had a really good season thus far, but he has really went against a lot of tough run defenses. This one right here is a little bit more leaky. We just seen what Christian McCaffrey was able to do. And we all know Mixon every year he had one of those games where he did 4 touchdowns. And I think this could be the game for him. Because at the same time, Burrow is still not well, so they may lean on the run game a little bit more. So I think Joe Mixon is going to be a sneaky DFS play as well.
You got the Eagles going up against the Rams. This is a 50.5 point over under. Pretty sure this is the highest over under of the week. No, the Chiefs game is going to be the highest over under of the week. This is a 4.5 point spread with the Rams getting that 4.5. What do we got on this one, Vander?
You know what? I think this is a tricky game as far as AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. Because the Rams is pretty good against the passes year, actually. I know, Ramsey left, and people, even I was one of the people that thought this team was gonna, look crazy on the back,
basically.
But they've been looking actually pretty solid, on the back end. So, shout out to my guy from South Carolina State, Durant, that's on the team. But I do love the Puka. Stay with Puka, man. Don't leave. He got in the end zone. He was getting a lot of catches during the week, but he finally got in the end zone and made his fantasy night look even greater. He's on pace to do some historical things. So I do like him. It's funny that he's having this great season, but Stafford is still not, as far as a quarterback. He's the one that's
for a quarterback to really move the meter in fantasy. You kind of got to have 2 guys, which is why Stafford may be the guy, one of the guys that you get on the cheap right now, because Kupp is on the way back. Let me ask you a question real quick, Vander. Does Stafford actually split the load, or because he's normally one to throw to one guy? So does Puka still get love when Kupp comes back, or is Kupp worth it when he comes? I mean, like what's going to happen there?
Nah, I mean, he'd be fine. Tutu would be the guy that take the step back. I know a lot of people thinking, Kupp is coming back, and now you need to trade Puka. You need to hold Puka. Don't trade him, just hold. Because he's more than Robert. I spoke on this maybe 2 shows ago. He's more that Robert Rose role than anything. He's not really playing Kupp's role. He's playing Robert Rose's role. So we've seen both of them do well in fantasy when healthy. So I think Atwell, because Atwell's getting 9 targets some games. So even if he take a back seat and Puka's still getting 9 targets, it's okay for Kupp to get his 13. You know what I'm saying? So it's still work out for both of them. So
And then he don't have the number one corner on him at that point, so he should be even better theoretically.
So I think at that point, then we may see Stafford value rise up.
Yeah.
But I'm not rocking with Kyron Williams this game. Philadelphia is pretty stout against the run. So
yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. You got the Jets going up against the Broncos. I'll take this one. Don't start anybody if you can help it.
but who?
Other than Brees Hall.
For the Jets?
Because I still don't think that Zach is gonna pop off. I think he'll be okay, but other than Hall, I don't trust it. I'll put it that way. Now obviously Garrett Wilson could have a good game, but the over/under on this one is 43, and the Jets are actually getting a point and a half in this one. I don't feel comfortable with anybody outside of Hall. Nobody on Denver side, I don't really feel comfortable with the Jets defense being what it is. So if you have to, put Zach out there in the 2 QB league Superflex, I get it. If you want to use Wilson as maybe a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, I get it. But I wouldn't count on offensive production from the past game. But I can see possibly all 3 of the running backs for the Jets doing a little something in this game. What were you about to say, Vander?
I feel different.
Okay.
I think you should play, especially DFS. Zach Wilson is cheap. I think you should pair him with Garrett Wilson, even though we haven't seen him do well. But, I mean, Zach played pretty decent against the Chiefs defense, which is a pretty solid defense, right?
Yeah. They are.
The Broncos looking like homecoming this year, right? When it's homecoming, you book the team that you can run it up on. So for that being said, I'm okay with playing all 3 of them. Actually, I got a card. I'm going to play Wilson, and Hall. I'm going to play all 3 of them. They all 3 are pretty, priced pretty reasonable. On the other side, receiver wise, no, stay away from Sutton, those guys. But again, I do like Jaleel McLaurin. He's like 5,700. The Jets will give up love on the ground. So they don't give up much back here, but on the ground, they could give up something. So I'm going to go with Jaleel on the other side.
Gotcha. 10-4. Got the Vikings going up against the Chiefs. This is a 52.5 point over-under, the highest over-under of the week. Minnesota is getting 4 points. Are we just starting everybody that you got on this one, Joe? I mean, who? Better question. Versus telling us who to start, which should be pretty easy. Is there anybody that you sitting in this matchup?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. See, well, I don't think nobody. You got to play everybody, right? I think honestly,
that's what I'm thinking. I mean,
I'm just not in love with any Kansas City receiver other than Kelsey. That's it. So technically, you still ain't, because everybody know not to do that. We ain't starting no wide receiver on the Chiefs. So, I think you play everybody as usual. I think Pacheco about to have another good game, success over success, get another bell.
Minnesota's defense is trash, so he should.
They say you can't do it. You can't do it against them. Oh Lord, they giving up. They switch cheese right now. And then what doesn't help them, man? On the other side of it, Kirk Cousins keep having all these turnovers, man. He either fumbling, he either throwing a pick, and this is conscious stuff. Like, this is him. Like, he didn't get re-signed this offseason. I think he know.
Oh, he'll be on another team next year. I can see him possibly being with the Raiders or somebody like that. If Aiden O'Connell don't step up, Jimmy G only on a 1-year contract, I believe. I can see their offense taking a step in the right direction with Cousins. They're gonna have a lot more turnovers, but they'll put up a lot more points too. You got the Cowboys going up against the Niners. This is a 45-point over-under. Dallas is getting 3.5 points here. What you got on your boys, Vander?
You already know what time it is, man. Gold rush. You know what I'm saying? You play them boys. Christian McCaffrey, man. This dude definitely won your league last week, I'm sure. Won me some money, in DFS. This Cowboy defense is pretty good, but not good enough. No cigar. You play all the Niners. You play everybody. You know what I'm saying? As usual. I'm not really afraid of this defense. They did look a lot different. You could tell with Diggs being out.
Yeah, for sure.
It did really affect the way they scheme a little bit. As far as on the other side, I'm actually sitting Tony Pollard. In my league, I got Tony Pollard, and I'm playing Chan in front of him. So that's
I
just
can
how
see
I
it.
feel about it. Tony Pollard is one of the higher ranked running backs on a lot of rankings, but for me, against this 49ers front, I'm out there. I really go the other way. So
the San Fran defense is different. So
he's a guy I would not want to start, to be honest with you.
I feel you on that for sure.
And Dak, don't do it. Find something else if you can. If you can, find you another play, especially in a 1-quarterback league. If you're in a 2-quarterback league, your hands is tied.
Facts. Last up, the Packers going up against the Raiders on Monday Night Football. This is a 44.5 point over under and only a 1-point spread, with Vegas getting that 1 point. Go ahead and finish out for us, Joe.
Well, this is going to be simple. As far as Green Bay, Aaron Jones, let him get back. That was crazy how little he got utilized last week. Crazy sample. Going back on the other, still saying that the other position, but going to wide receiver, Christian Watson, man, he looked good coming back from injury. Yeah, I think you can like all their receivers. Honestly, you can start all of them because Dobbs did pretty good.
And the
rookie
Reed did decent too. I mean,
they got all of them doing pretty good. Musgrave, I think, is on the mend right now. He's playing a little banged up, but then going on the other side of the matchup, man, I think it's like I said, I think it's a fair matchup this weekend. Let me see who I have for this team.
I like Love to do some damage against this Vegas defense too.
Man, that's the thing I like about them. It's going to be quite simple. Josh Jacobs, you got to go back. Myers, I think Myers is healthy. I know he was in concussion protocol this weekend. Is this a Devontae game? Devontae, he had one good game with, Garage. Aiden O'Connell he was a little teeter-totter. I think Aiden just needed a week, honestly, because Aiden been playing good since preseason. I think he gonna force feed Devontae.
I honestly think Jimmy G will be back this week. I don't know if the rookie's going to be the starter this week. If Jimmy G gets out of that concussion protocol, have either one of you heard anything about him being out of protocol?
No, I think Jimmy be fine.
I think he starts if he's out of protocol.
You know what? This went over my head. The Raiders playing the Packers.
Yeah. Yeah, revenge game.
Devontae gonna act up, boy. But this is gonna be a good one because Jair,
he's out. I believe
Jair's out.
He was out last week. I mean, he had a back injury. I don't know. I haven't seen anything saying that he's back yet, but he was out last week due to a back injury. So I mean, Adams going up against a number 2 corner.
And hey, I got Adams in my league, so man, I'm giddy. You know what I'm saying? I'm stoked right now, boy. I wasn't, that went over my head. I'm like, okay, they got Green Bay. Nah, I forgot. Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be one of the ones.
I can see it.
One of the ones, yeah, for sure.
But with that being the case, do you have confidence in Myers as well? It's kind of the intermediate guy, especially in PPR. I know sure. It's standard, probably not, but
non-standard, no, but PPR for sure. He could still get him 9-10 catches easily. You know what I'm saying? Even with Devontae getting off, Devontae can get 15 targets and Myers can still get him 12. That's just how much they're slinging around. And he kind of throw to those two guys. Renfro not getting no targets.
None. I don't know what's up with that. Like, I thought that Jimmy G would have been best friends with Renfro.
But that's a guy that a lot of teams, if smart, I'll be on the horn with. You know what I'm saying? Because you're talking about a lot of guys looking for. He's not like the number 1 wide receiver, but even a team like the Bears, right? You already got.
I'll take him in New England over Juju right now. I can tell you that.
100%, he'd be a big upgrade. You know what I'm saying?
And we already have a relationship with the head coach. So I mean, go ahead and hook us up a little bit, McDaniel. You might be on your way back anyway. So I mean, go ahead.
I'm looking for him to get moved though.
Yeah, I can see it. I can definitely see it. That pretty much wraps it up for this week. We will be back to you on next week. But for tonight, we out.